For decades, we've been told dairy is nature's perfect food. But for those over 50, what's really hiding in that glass of milk or slice of cheese could be silently wrecking your heart, kidneys, and even memory. Today, we're exposing the dangerous dairy products that betray your trust and the two rare options that truly protect your health. Coming in at number 10, we've got flavored yogurts, the healthy cups that often behave like dessert. You peel the foil expecting a clean, tangy bite. Instead, you get cloying sweetness that hits like soda in dairy form. Flavored yogurt is marketed as good for digestion and bone health, but many brands load a single 6 to 8 ounce cup with 25 to 30 grams of added sugar, the same range as a can of soda. That sugar spike is exactly what seniors need to avoid. It worsens insulin resistance, boosts inflammation, and adds quick calories that can push weight upward without adding real nutrition. In fact, surveys of commercial flavored yogurts show many varieties with 30 grams or more of sugar per typical container. Imagine this. You trade a cookie for fruit yogurt and end up with the same metabolic hit but in a prettier tub. The problem is not the dairy itself. Plain yogurt still offers protein, calcium, and probiotics. It's the added syrups, fruit bases loaded with corn syrup, and dessert-style flavors that turn a healthy choice into a hidden dessert. When your blood sugar spikes, your meds, appetite, and sleep cycle can ripple in ways you don't notice for days. For older adults on diabetes medication, that spike can be especially dangerous. Labels often hide sugar under many names: fruit puree concentrate, cane juice, corn syrup solids. Don't trust the pretty pictures of berries. Read the grams on the nutrition facts panel. If a single serving cup lists total sugar above 12 to 15 grams, treat it like a dessert. Plain Greek yogurt is the simplest swap. It has higher protein, less sugar, and it keeps you full longer. Add fresh berries or a small spoon of honey if you want sweetness. You control the total sugar that way. A healthy cup that spikes your blood sugar is the food equivalent of being betrayed by a friend who brings you cake to a support group. Ever grabbed a fruit yogurt and regretted it? Was it a stomach ache, a crash, or just the betrayal of tasting cake when you expected plain? Tell us the worst yogurt you've lost trust in. If it tastes like dessert and costs as much as dairy, treat it as dessert, not as medicine. Moving to number 9, we've got processed cheese slices, the neon slabs that pretend to be cheese. You unwrap a square that melts perfectly over a burger and think convenient. What you're really holding is a highly engineered mix of oils, emulsifiers, starches, and salt designed for long shelf life and uniform melt. Those slices sacrifice real dairy for convenience. Nutrition-wise, they often pack a heavy sodium load and calories with little real protein or beneficial fat profile. Excess sodium drives blood pressure up, a direct risk for strokes and heart problems, especially in older adults who may already be on blood pressure meds. The visual to keep in your head: a burger wrapped in a glossy uniform cloak of processed cheese that looks the same in every town, but which hides long ingredient lists like milk fat, whey protein concentrate, vegetable oil, emulsifying salts, cellulose gel. That cellulose is a bulking agent. The milk parts are often minimal. The industry has a long history of clever labeling to make these slices look like cheese while offering much lower cost and higher salt. For people on sodium-restrictive diets, 1 or 2 slices can push you a meaningful percentage of your daily limit. Beyond sodium, these slices often use oils that have been highly processed. Even when labels say no trans fat, the small amounts allowed per serving can add up across a day of processed foods. If you rely on processed slices for regular meals, you'll miss the beneficial fats and vitamins found in whole cheeses like calcium and vitamin K2 in small amounts, and you'll take on excess salt and additives. A clean swap strategy: use a thin slice of real cheddar or mozzarella, or crumble a high-quality feta for flavor. Real cheese brings more protein, richer flavor, and you'll use less of it because it tastes like cheese. If texture matters for melting, try low-moisture part-skim mozzarella. It melts well and doesn't carry the long ingredient list. That neon blanket on a burger is convenience pretending to be food, and your blood pressure pays the bill. Which processed cheese has fooled you the most? And did you notice the taste difference when you switch to a real block of cheese? Convenience should not come at the cost of your circulation. Pick the real thing a little less often and your body will thank you. Arriving at number 8, we've got coffee creamers with dairy blends, the cream that's mostly industrial chemistry. You pour a splash and your coffee smiles back, but read the label and you'll find corn syrup solids, partially hydrogenated oils, mono and diglycerides, and sodium caseinate. Powdered and shelf-stable creamers rely on engineered ingredients to create creamy texture and long life. Those ingredients include processed vegetable oils that, historically, contributed to artificial trans fats, the same industrial fats public health research tied to tens of thousands of premature heart deaths per year before they began to be phased out. Even after regulatory moves to remove partially hydrogenated oils, many creamers still use refined oils and additives that raise concerns for heart health when consumed often. Imagine this. Your cup of calm is actually a tiny chemistry set of emulsifiers, anti-caking agents, and sweeteners. Powdered creamers commonly list corn syrup solids as the first ingredient, then vegetable oil solids. That combo delivers sweetness and mouthfeel, but it delivers empty calories, refined sugars, and fats that raise LDL cholesterol. For older adults, especially those with pre-existing heart disease or stents, regular use of these creamers adds risk over time. A further issue, powdered creamers and dairy blend liquid creamers often include sodium caseinate and other milk derivatives, which means some non-dairy creamers still contain milk proteins. That's important for anyone with milk allergies or strict vegan diets. Labels can be confusing, and non-dairy does not always mean dairy-free. Safer swaps are simple and taste good. A splash of organic half and half, plain unsweetened oat milk, or a small amount of real cream. If you want shelf stability, canned coconut milk, unsweetened, or single-serve cartons of shelf-stable unsweetened plant milk are better than powdered creamer, and avoid the long additive lists. Remember, fewer ingredients usually mean fewer surprises. That silky cup might be easy, but it's easy to rack up empty calories and borderline fats without noticing. One daily splash becomes a hidden daily habit. What's your coffee crutch? Sweet creamer, full-fat milk, or black? Has switching to a simpler creamer surprised you in taste or energy? If your coffee needs chemistry to taste like breakfast, the problem is the creamer, not your beans. Make the swap and keep your heart out of the lab. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Landing at number 7, we've got cottage cheese loaded with additives, the humble tub that can hide gums, stabilizers, and a real microbial risk. You spoon the lumpy white curds expecting a healthy, high-protein snack. Instead, you find mystery texture and an ingredient list that reads like a chemistry homework sheet. Carrageenan, xanthan gum, gar gum, stabilizers, and preservatives. Those thickeners are there to keep cottage cheese from separating on the shelf and to give the product a smooth, uniform look. The result? You pay for a texture that's engineered, not naturally earned. For older adults who value lean protein, that's irritating, and sometimes risky when additives replace actual food quality. Beyond texture tricks, the bigger issue is microbial safety. Fresh cheeses like cottage cheese can support the survival of Listeria monocytogenes under some conditions. Studies looking at how Listeria behaves in soft, fresh cheeses show that cottage cheese-style products can harbor the bacteria if contamination occurs during manufacture or if storage and handling slip. For older adults, Listeria is not a minor upset. It can cause serious disease and even be fatal. That's why food safety agencies and food science journals keep cautionary eyes on fresh dairy products and the way they're processed. Picture the kitchen at scale. A large vat of curds, a line of tubs, a handful of workers, and one tiny lapse, an uncleaned scoop, a contaminated utensil, or a refrigeration unit that runs a few degrees warm. That's all it takes for bacteria to hitch a ride. Add to that long ingredient lists where chemical stabilizers mask old product, and you've got a product that might stay visually acceptable even as safety margins shrink. What to watch for on labels? Minimal ingredients, short ingredient lists, and explicit lines like cultured milk, cream, salt. Avoid tubs that list several gums or natural flavors in the first 3 ingredients. Natural flavors is often a red flag for processed additives that hide behind marketing-friendly words. If you see sorbates or other preservatives used to extend shelf life, consider whether you want that trade-off. For seniors taking multiple medications or those with weakened immune systems, the safer move is to choose products with the simplest ingredient lists. Safer swaps. Ricotta is a great alternative. It's similar in protein, easier to digest for some people, and often comes with shorter ingredient lists. Or make your own quick cottage-style curds from plain full-fat or part-skim yogurt strained briefly. You control cleanliness and ingredients. And when you do buy cottage cheese, pick organic brands with minimal processing and check local health alerts if there are any recalls or contamination notices in your region. A tub that looks fine on the outside can be a shelf for trouble inside. The long ingredient list makes it easy to miss what you're really eating. Which dairy swap surprised you? Did you try ricotta instead of cottage cheese and actually like it? Tell us which brand or home fix worked best. Cottage cheese can be a smart protein pick, unless it's been doctored into something that looks healthy but behaves like processed food. Pick simple tubs, short labels, or skip it altogether. Transitioning to number 6, we've got evaporated milk in cans. Shelf-stable convenience that brings along a silent chemical risk. You reach for the can because it's handy, lasts forever in the pantry, and gives recipes a creamy lift. But canned evaporated and condensed milk comes with a recurring packaging controversy. Traces of bisphenol A, BPA, and related plastic chemicals have been detected leaching from can linings into foods. Consumer testing and academic reviews show BPA residues appear across a wide variety of canned products, and health groups link BPA exposure to hormone disruption, potential effects on kidneys, and other long-term concerns, issues that matter much more after age 50. Imagine this. You use a can to make a dessert, a pie, or a quick curry, and a tiny amount of packaging chemical migrates into the milk. That trace level won't make headlines overnight, but for older adults who already face hormonal shifts and organ strain, repeated low-level exposure over months and years adds up. That's especially relevant for people on medications or those with kidney strain. Their bodies handle toxins differently. Labels won't tell you about BPAS. The fix is practical. Choose powdered milk packaged in BPA-free cartons or pouches, or select brands that explicitly use BPA-free can linings. Some companies now label their cans as BPA-free, and there are shelf-stable alternatives like UHT ultra-high-temperature boxed milk that avoid metal can linings altogether. Consumer Reports testing and other packaging reviews also found plastic chemicals in a wide range of packaged foods, so evaporated milk isn't alone. It's just one clear pantry item where you can make a safer choice. Other practical tips. Use fresh dairy when possible, and when a recipe calls for evaporated milk, test powdered whole milk reconstituted according to directions. It behaves similarly in cooking and avoids the can. When you must use a can, transfer the contents to a glass container before heating or storing. Limit how long you keep opened canned dairy in plastic containers. Convenience is cheap when measured by minutes, but not when measured in slow chemical exposure. One can a month seems harmless. A can a week adds up. Have you switched from canned to powdered milk? Did your baking or cooking notice a difference, texture, taste, or convenience? Share your favorite powdered brand if you have one. Evaporated milk is handy, but if you care about long-term exposure to packaging chemicals, switch to a BPA-free option or powdered milk and stop warming your recipes in a metal time capsule. Coming in at number 5, we've got ice cream from big box brands. Childhood nostalgia spooned in a tub packed with sugar, syrups, and chemical stabilizers. You open the carton expecting creamy richness and get a list of additives: high fructose corn syrup solids, mono and diglycerides, artificial colors, and stabilizers that keep ice crystals at bay. Big retailers and value brands often use cheaper ingredients to hit price points, which means more sweeteners and more stabilizers per scoop. That creates a treat that tastes familiar but gives a heavier metabolic and inflammatory load than small-batch, simpler ingredient ice creams. Studies and industry comparisons show that some additives and dyes allowed in the US are restricted or banned in parts of Europe, not because Europe wants to deny flavor, but because their regulatory standards differ for certain dyes and processing agents. Picture a scoop that's half sugar and half chemistry. One serving from some bargain tubs can hide 20 to 30 grams of added sugar or more, plus emulsifiers that make low-fat formulations feel creamy. For older adults, those sugar loads raise blood glucose swings, worsen insulin resistance, and add calories without nutrient density. Plus, artificial colors and some stabilizers have been flagged in international comparisons for stricter controls abroad. Another reason to pick labels carefully. What to watch for on the label? First, the sugar column. If total sugar is a big number and the ingredient list begins with corn syrup solids or sugar, assume it's a dessert-level serving, not a modest treat. Second, look down the list for weird stabilizers and emulsifiers, carboxymethylcellulose, carrageenan, polysorbates, which are used to improve mouthfeel and shelf life. They're not illegal in the US, but they are additives you can avoid by choosing simpler products. Third, check whether artificial colors are present. Some dyes have been under scrutiny and are limited in other markets. Safer choices. Pick small batch brands that use sugar, cream, milk, and real vanilla as top ingredients. Gelato-style products with shorter ingredient lists often win on both taste and ingredient quality. Or make a single-serving treat at home with plain full-fat yogurt, a spoon of honey, and frozen berries. Buttons. You get creaminess without the packaged sugar lake. If budget is a factor, look for store brands that publish ingredient sources or offer no stabilizer lines. A tub that screams value at checkout can be a sugar bomb that quiets your energy for hours and strains what your doctor calls metabolic flexibility. What's the weirdest ice cream ingredient you spotted on a tub and instantly tossed the spoon? Was it corn syrup, a stabilizer name you couldn't pronounce, or something else? Ice cream should melt on your tongue, not on your pancreas. Pick simpler tubs, smaller scoops, or homemade fixes. Nostalgia is negotiable when your health isn't. Moving to number 4, we've got non-dairy cream cheese blends, spreads that market themselves as healthier but hide seed oils, emulsifiers, and recalls. You pull a tub off the shelf labeled dairy blend or non-dairy cream cheese and feel clever, healthier, lighter, friendlier for diets. The lid peels back and the texture looks right. Smooth, spreadable, Instagram ready. But look at the ingredient list and you'll see a pattern. Partially hydrogenated or refined seed oils, emulsifiers to make the texture cling, gums to stabilize, and sometimes preservatives to extend shelf life. Some of these tubs also include dairy proteins like sodium caseinate, so non-dairy can be misleading. Those ingredients are chosen for cost and shelf life, not nutrition. The real problem is twofold. First, seed oils and refined fats. These products often use inexpensive seed oils to mimic creaminess. For people on blood-thinning meds or with heart issues, diets high in certain refined fats can be a concern because they affect inflammation and the balance of fats in the blood. Second, food safety events. In recent years, multiple cream cheese products, including some spreads, were recalled due to salmonella contamination. Those recalls hit all sorts of brands and formats, showing that infection risk can come into processed spreads when sanitation or supply chain checks fail. In 2024, more than 800,000 units of cream cheese and related spreads were recalled for potential salmonella contamination. Separate voluntary recalls also targeted private label cream cheese items. That's a red flag when you're buying a product for daily use. Imagine this, a sandwich spread that looks healthy but is built from a base of oils designed to check boxes on shelf life and mouthfeel. That slick texture hides long ingredient lists that mean you're eating a processed product, not a simple dairy food. For seniors who often juggle heart meds, blood thinners, or glucose control, a daily habit of these spreads stacks small risks into something larger over months. The recalls show the other side of the risk. Even big brands can suffer contamination, and once a spread hits the market contaminated, it's hard to track every jar that reached store shelves and fridges. How to read the label? If the ingredient list starts with unfamiliar oils, natural flavors, or long emulsifier names, you're not looking at pure cream cheese. If you see sodium caseinate, that product is not dairy-free despite non-dairy branding. If the company packaging or recall history shows any recent safety notices, take that seriously. Brands sometimes post voluntary recalls on their websites, or retailers post notices. The FDA recall database is another place to check if you're concerned. Safer choices. Plain, full-fat cream cheese with a short ingredient list is the simplest swap. Cream and cultures, not mystery oils. If you want a plant option, use mashed avocado with a squeeze of lemon and a pinch of salt. Clean ingredients, good fats, no mystery emulsifiers. If you're buying spreads frequently, favor brands that list transparent ingredients and that have no recent recall history. A healthier spread that needs chemistry and long ingredient names to behave on the shelf is just processed food dressed up in green packaging. Have you ever reached for the non-dairy tub and then read the label and tossed it back? Tell us what name made you pause. Was it sodium caseinate, polysorbate, or something else? If the spread needs chemistry to feel like cream cheese, don't let marketing decide your plate. Pick short labels or whole foods instead. Coming in at number 3, we've got powdered coffee creamers, the shelf-stable powders that promise convenience but often bring corn syrup solids, refined oils, and milk proteins. You want coffee that looks creamy without fridge drama. You scoop a white powder, stir, and the cup turns into comfort. The convenience is real. The ingredient list, though, often reads like a lab inventory. Corn syrup solids, sweetener, hydrogenated or refined vegetable oil, or vegetable oil solids, for mouthfeel, sodium caseinate, a dairy-derived protein used to make the product look creamy, and a handful of emulsifiers and anti-caking agents. Even when labels claim non-dairy, sodium caseinate means the product still contains milk protein. And while partially hydrogenated oils were largely phased out, many creamers still contain refined vegetable oils and additives that aren't ideal for daily intake. Why this matters? Several health authorities and medical outlets warn that frequent consumption of ultra-processed fats and sugars raises heart and metabolic risk over time. Powdered creamers are concentrated sources of empty calories, refined sugars, and processed fats that can push up LDL cholesterol and contribute to weight gain when used daily. Health coverage from reputable clinics highlights how many creamer products are mostly sugar and oil, not cream, and how those ingredients add up across months. A high intake of such processed ingredients is linked in public health literature to higher rates of cardiovascular disease risk factors. While a single splash won't ruin a diet, the common pattern is daily use, and that adds empty calories and processed fats to what might otherwise be a simple drink. There's another practical point. Powdered creamers often contain sodium caseinate or other milk derivatives, which matters if someone needs strict dairy-free options or has a milk allergy. Labels like non-dairy can be misleading. Always check for milk-derived proteins. And because these powders are designed to be low-cost and long-lasting, companies use cheap ingredients to keep texture and mouthfeel consistent, which means more additives on your spoon. Safer swaps. If you need shelf-stable creamer, powdered coconut milk is a solid alternative. It's naturally creamy, avoids dairy proteins, and many products have simple ingredient lists. Unsweetened powdered coconut milk, reconstituted in hot coffee, gives a clean mouthfeel without corn syrup solids. If you prefer dairy, a small splash of refrigerated half-and-half or real cream wins on ingredients and taste. Food writers and cooking sites have recommended coconut powder as a pantry creamer for convenience and cleaner ingredient lists. One daily scoop of powdered creamer can be the difference between a harmless habit and a steady stream of empty calories and processed oils. Do you use powdered creamer or real milk? If you switched to powdered coconut milk, did the coffee lose the creamy vibe or gain a cleaner taste? If your coffee needs sugar and chemistry to taste like morning, fix the creamer, not the cup. Opt for real dairy or simple plant powders and keep the ingredient list short. Arriving at number 2, we've got sweetened condensed milk, the syrupy shortcut that packs sugar and calories into a tiny serving. You see the can on the rack. Recipes, coffee, desserts. One small serving of sweetened condensed milk can deliver a heavy load of sugar. Major brands show around 18 to 22 grams of total sugar per 2 tablespoons serving, and roughly 120 to 130 calories for that same small amount. In other words, a little goes a long way. And for seniors watching blood sugar, that little can be a harmful habit. Some label examples list nearly a third of the product as added sugar by weight. That concentrated sugar acts fast on insulin and can worsen insulin resistance over time. Beyond the sugar hit, condensed milk is used in recipes where one scoop becomes many: pies, sweets, coffee drinks, and cultural desserts. It's easy to overdo it and hard to measure the cumulative sugar load across the week. For someone on diabetes meds or with reduced glucose tolerance, a dessert that uses sweetened condensed milk can create a sharp rise in blood sugar and require careful monitoring. Even single-serving coffee drinks or cultural sweets often use condensed milk as a base, making hidden sugar a routine part of a daily diet. Safer approaches. Choose unsweetened condensed milk, also called evaporated milk in some contexts, or reconstitute powdered whole milk and add a small, controlled amount of natural sweetener, like a spoon of pure maple syrup or a touch of honey. That way, you control the sugar and keep the creamy texture. Some brands also offer reduced sugar or no sugar added versions. Read the labels carefully for total sugars and serving sizes. Health guides warn that condensed milk is a high-sugar product and should be used sparingly, especially in diets for older adults. That tiny spoonful that makes a dessert sing is the same spoonful that can push your daily sugar from safe to risky without you noticing. What's your favorite condensed milk dessert? And did you ever try making a lower sugar version that actually tasted good? Condensed milk is a powerful shortcut. Use it rarely, or swap for unsweetened options and sweeten by hand. Your blood sugar will thank you. At number 1, we've got flavored milk drinks. The colorful cartons that promise calcium and smiley kids, but deliver a sugar bomb in a straw. You pick a flavor because it looks fun. Chocolate swirls, pink strawberry, even banana flecks. The label shows calcium in big letters, and you feel good handing it to a grandkid or pouring it into your own coffee. Then you look at the nutrition facts and everything drops. 20 to 35 grams of sugar per serving in many flavored milk drinks. That's not a splash of sweetness. It's the same sugar load as a soda, bottled iced tea, or a dessert. For older adults, repeat servings add up fast. Blood sugar spikes, heavier insulin responses, and extra strain on kidneys and the heart. What was sold as a fun calcium boost becomes a routine source of empty calories and metabolic stress. Think about the regulars who reach for a flavored milk every morning. one small carton daily becomes a regular insulin challenge. If someone already manages diabetes or takes meds that affect blood sugar, that steady sweet stream complicates dosing and makes glucose control harder. Flavored milk also often uses artificial dyes to get that candy look. Some artificial colors have been criticized in other countries and are restricted in certain markets. Even where allowed, they add nothing for nutrition and sometimes irritate sensitive stomachs or attention in children. That's marketing glitter, not nourishment. There's a deeper problem many shoppers miss: packaging and portion creep. Single-serve cartons look small, but many are the same size as a snack or dessert serving. People assume milk equals safe. Companies assume shoppers won't read the sugar grams. The result? A cultural misread where a dairy product gets treated like a beverage treat. If you want chocolate milk, mix unsweetened cocoa powder into regular milk and add just a touch of sweetener you control. That way you get the calcium and protein without a sugar surge you didn't budget for. Also watch for reduced fat or low-fat flavored milks that compensate lost mouthfeel with more sugar. Fat helps slow sugar absorption. When you take out fat and add sugar, you speed the spike and shorten the satisfaction. For older adults who need stable energy between meals, that's a losing trade. Practical swap ideas: unsweetened cocoa plus warm milk, a small spoon of honey if you need mild sweetness, or a splash of vanilla extract and cinnamon for a dessert vibe without the sugar lake. For kids, dilute flavored milk with plain milk to cut sugar in half and gradually wean taste back toward less sweet. For seniors who enjoy the treat, use smaller portions and pair them with protein-rich snacks to blunt the blood sugar rise. A handful of nuts or a boiled egg works. That bright carton looks harmless until you do the math. A daily treat becomes a steady drain on metabolic control and organ health. Which flavored milk betrayed you? The one you bought thinking, just a little, that ended up tasting like dessert? Drop the flavor and the brand so other shoppers can watch out. If a milk bottle smiles like a dessert and your glucose meters frown, treat it like a dessert, not as a health choice. Coming in at good pick number 1, organic kefir, the probiotic-packed drink that actually earns praise for digestion, immunity, and bone support when you choose it wisely. You lift a plain kefir bottle and you're holding a live food product. Active cultures, often many different strains of bacteria and yeasts, and a tangy taste that feels clean rather than sugary. For people over 50, kefir has several useful features. It contains probiotics that help maintain a balanced gut microbiome, which supports digestion, nutrient absorption, and even immune response. Better gut balance can ease bloating, reduce some forms of chronic discomfort, and help efficient nutrient uptake, all helpful when appetite or digestion changes with age. Kefir also supplies calcium and protein in a drinkable form, which is handy for older adults who might struggle with large, solid meals. The protein helps preserve muscle mass and calcium supports bone density. Organic kefir often uses milk from cows raised without routine antibiotics and with farming practices that avoid certain additives, which many shoppers prefer for overall exposure concerns. There are a few label points to keep in mind. Flavored or fruit-added kefirs often pack a lot of sugar. The probiotic benefit can be undermined if you pick a candy-flavored version. Look for plain or unsweetened kefir with short ingredient lists. Milk and cultures. Some brands list the specific strains and colony-forming units, CFUs, per serving. That's helpful but not always necessary. Variety of strains and a simple label are good signs. Also check for pasteurization notes if that matters to you. Most kefirs are made from pasteurized milk, but then fermented, which keeps things safe while delivering live cultures. How to use kefir practically. Drink a small glass with breakfast, stir a splash into oatmeal, or use it as a tangy base for smoothies. If you're new to kefir, start with a small serving once a day so your gut adapts. Sometimes probiotics cause temporary gas or bloating as the microbiome shifts. That's usually short-lived. The benefits grow over weeks. For seniors on immune-suppressing medications, check with a health provider before starting live cultures. Better safe than sorry. Kefir is a live food. It helps your gut do its job rather than covering up problems with sugar and additives. That's rare in the dairy aisle. Tried kefir and felt a difference in digestion or energy? Tell us how long it took and which brand you liked best. When a dairy product is genuinely helping digestion and bones without sugar tricks, it earns a permanent spot in the fridge. Kefir does that. Coming in at good pick number 2, grass-fed butter. A small portion of real fat that gives you vitamin K2, better fat ratios, and flavor without the processing. You spread a thin pat on toast and you get more than taste. Butter from grass-fed cows typically carries higher amounts of certain nutrients compared with conventional butter. That includes slightly higher omega-3 fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 supports bone mineralization and helps guide calcium into bones rather than soft tissues, useful as people age and bone density becomes a focus. The omega-3 increase isn't massive, but the balance between omega-6s and omega-3s improves slightly compared to grain-fed butter. For many older adults, these small differences matter when combined with an otherwise balanced diet. Another advantage, grass-fed butter tends to come from farms that use fewer industrial feed additives and sometimes have stricter animal welfare practices. If avoiding unnecessary antibiotics or wanting kinder supply chains matters to you, that's an extra reason to pick this butter. But the main practical reason is simple. It's a real food fat with minimal processing, unlike many spreads loaded with seed oils and emulsifiers. How to use it safely? Keep portions modest. Butter is calorie-dense. A thin spread or a teaspoon for cooking adds flavor and healthy fat without huge calories. Swap it for margarine or blends that advertise heart-healthy, but actually rely on industrial seed oils and emulsifiers. Those replacements often increase refined polyunsaturated fats or have additives that may not suit sensitive digestion or medication interactions. Label tips: buy real butter, cream, and maybe salt listed. Avoid anything labeled spread or margarine that lists vegetable oils, hydrogenated fats, or long emulsifier lists. Grass-fed is the phrase to look for. Some brands add pasture-raised or third-party certifications, both good signs. If cost is a concern, you don't need to use grass-fed for every tablespoon. Rotate and use small amounts where the butter's flavor matters most. A small real pat beats a tub of mystery oils, taste, vitamins, and fewer additives in every bite. Which recipe got better when you switched to real butter, coffee, toast, or a simple sauté? Share the victory. Butter isn't the villain when it's real and used in small amounts. Grass-fed butter gives you trace nutrients that processed spreads simply don't. Don't risk your health on hidden dairy dangers. Subscribe now, and each week I'll reveal what to avoid and the rare foods that are truly safe for your body.